Well, it's good to see you again, Jim, and we have another question here for you. And this question comes from John in Strongsville. He wants to rent out a storefront to help his daughter open her hair salon. And he asks, should I have the store's heating and air checked prior to signing the lease? Let me ask you that first. He's got a couple of questions. We'll take these one at a time. So should he have it checked before signing the lease?
Well, sure. That's an excellent idea, Randy, for a couple of reasons. First thing is, what condition's it in? We've gone out to places where the inside of the store is very impressive. Nice new paint, fixtures, the whole shot. And then we'll look at the HVAC equipment, and it's a disaster. I mean, nobody goes up there on that roof or in that basement or whatever. And so he's all excited about this new space to lease, and especially if it's something you really got to count on, and then to find out, and some leases read, well, you're responsible for your HVAC equipment. Once you sign that lease and rent the place, you're required to do PM, and you're responsible for the breakdowns. You own it while you're leasing it. And that's the last thing you want to do is have that money, that expense on a new lease, So you want to make sure that. Also,
that's good. I was going to say, that's good to know. I bet a lot of people don't even realize that, I'm responsible for the HVAC system when I'm leasing. I would have figured the landlord was.
That's what a lot of people think. And then, because they don't read that fine print, and then they call the landlord and they say, my air doesn't work. He says, well, call somebody out. It's your responsibility. You know what? Yeah, read your lease under Section 5, Part B or whatever. Right. And you're also responsible for the maintenance. Then the guy goes out and he says, this thing's in bad shape. It hadn't been looked at in a long time. And so now you're going, boy, I wish I would have known that before I signed the lease. Are there any special considerations for it? Like say, it depends on what type of business. A lot of rental spaces are set up for basic office, basic use. That's the way the air conditioning's sized and the way the structure's set up. But if you're opening up something special, like you said, she said a hair salon business.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that's got to take special consideration. If you rent an office space and put a hair salon in it, your air conditioning is going to be woefully undersized. They use hair dryers, and each one of those hair dryers is worth about 3,000 or 4,000 BTUs. So it's going to increase the size of your air conditioner. I remember one guy called me out, and of course, the girls were in there sweating, he wanted to know, was the air conditioner broken? No, the air conditioner was fine. It was just inadequate. You needed twice as much air conditioning. Well, now the landlord, he's not going to buy a new air conditioner, upgrade it. He rented the space as is. And if you need more air conditioning, well, that's something you got to do, or deal with. So
I was going to say, a whole nother reason is you start from the beginning that, you want somebody to check out your equipment before you sign the lease, because you just mentioned maybe the equipment's fine, but it's not going to be the right kind of equipment for what you're doing in the business.
Oh, sure. Another one was a tanning salon. Same story. Opened up, the space was adequate. It was in a nice location. They're looking for good location, for customers to get to, and maybe eye appeal, whatever, but they don't look at the mechanicals. Well, here again, tanning beds put off a lot of heat. So if your air conditioner is inadequately sized, it's not going to work. You're going to have too hot of a salon. So it's better to know that on the front end, Randy, than on the back end, So,
and it sounds like his last question was, as a tenant, am I responsible for maintenance or repairs? You already answered that. Absolutely. You're responsible. Surprising, but
yeah. Sometimes,
So go ahead. You finish, Jim.
No, sometimes they will cooperate with you if it's a huge repair. But if you got a piece of equipment that hadn't been maintained, it could be a huge repair, or it could just be nickel diming you to death. And you're in a business to try to make money, not spend money on the equipment.
And you probably want to make sure the landlord, doesn't have you sign this lease knowing that he's got an old piece of equipment that's going to have to be repaired real quick, and then you're on the hook for it. So, hey, as always, Jim, that's a lot of good information, and hopefully, John in Strongsville, you got something out of it. If you're watching this right now and you have a question about your house or your business, let Jim know. Jim, what's the best way that somebody who's watching can send a question to you to get answered on our next video?
Well, they can go to our website, Randy, forquerheating.com, and there's a contact button on there. Push that, and then attention your question to Jim Sr. That's me, Jim Sr. We have a junior, and I'm senior. Attention it to Jim Sr. Type in your question, and we'll cover it in the next video session.
That's great. Take Jim up on that offer, and maybe you'll hear your name and your question on the next video we do. Thanks a lot, Jim. Appreciate it.
Sure thing, Randy.